everyone. Welcome to another tutorial of Spring Boot series. My name is Jairaj and thanks for joining again. So in this tutorial we will discuss one of the most important topic in Mongo and Spring Boot discussion, and which is Mongo Template, because in industry this feature is being used widely based on requirements, and we will discuss Mongo Operations also, which is a parent class of Mongo Template. And if you have any questions, suggestions or requests, please comment. I will try my best to fulfill that. And let's get started with this tutorial. So Mongo Template and Mongo Operations. So first let's understand what are they, and later we will see how to use them. So first understand one thing, that this Mongo Template and Mongo Operations both are a part of Spring Framework.data.mongodb.core package. And what is this package is, as I previously mentioned, that before few years, or more precisely before Spring 3, there were problems with data access technologies, such as connection management, a lot of boilerplate code and XML configuration, then XML file handling, and much more. And that's why after Spring 3, inside Spring Team, Spring Data Team was born, and they have created some of the amazing data-driven frameworks using template design patterns, and they have provided abstract classes and implementation of it. So user can directly use it without developing it from scratch, and make data access technology easy to use. So in short, in Spring Data, they have created interfaces, abstract classes, and standard implementation of those classes, and provided to the developers. So we can develop application using these ready-made classes and focus on our business logic. And additionally, meaning of this MongoDB-core is that it is a low-level driver only for development purpose. So this package is a part of Spring Data project. And moving forward, so if you open this Mongo template class, you can see it is implementing Mongo Operations interface. So Mongo Operation is an interface, and Mongo template is the implementation of that. So as I mentioned, that Spring Data provided interfaces, abstract classes. So this Mongo operation is an interface with basic set of MongoDB operations. So basically it has a list of all the mandatory operations with MongoDB, and Mongo template is a standard implementation of those operations. And here I'm going to use this term interchangeably because now you know the difference between them. So Mongo operation interface basically replicates methods that are in Mongo driver or Mongo client. So you will have all the methods of Mongo client, no need to learn anything new, but only difference here is that Mongo operation uses domain object, unlike Mongo client which uses DB objects. So what is the meaning of that is? So if you remember in previous tutorial, we have discussed Mongo client, and we have seen that to perform operations with Mongo, we have to create basic DB object. So this basic DB object is a kind of a hash map for us, but it is a different kind of object. So every time you want to perform any operation with Mongo, you have to create your instruction set into this basic DB object thing, because Mongo client cannot use our domain object. So domain object means employee class that we have created already. So this Mongo template and Mongo operation class, you can directly use this domain object, this employee class object, and you can perform the operation. No need to convert it, or no need for mapping. So we will see this at the time of coding, and but in short, it is a one step ahead of Mongo client. And additionally, Mongo operation is a thread safe, so you can use it across multiple instances. You don't need to worry about anything. So moving ahead, let's see how we can use this Mongo template and Mongo operations in our code. So first thing we're going to require is a new project. So let me go to my browser, and inside browser I'm going start.spring.io, and here I'll put group as something Mongo, then demo, and we're going to require few dependencies. So first dependency is Spring Web, because we are creating REST APIs. Then we are using Mongo embedded Mongo, so embedded Mongo, and then we are using Spring Data Mongo. So thing is, Mongo template and Mongo operation is a part of Spring Data Mongo. That's why this Spring Data Mongo we have to add here. So let me do generate, and in Eclipse I need to import it. So file, open project from file system and directory, and here we have download demo, open and finish. So if I open this pom.xml, you can see here we have all the dependencies, but one dependency that still we need is Mongo and Java driver. So for that, let me go to browser again, and in browser Maven repository, then inside Maven repository I can search for Mongo Java, and we have this link, something called Mongo Java driver, and we have latest version 3.12.1. Copy, and then in pom.xml I need to paste it. So now we have all the dependencies, but if you see here we have scope test. So as I mentioned previously that all the embedded database is for testing purpose, so I have to remove this, and if I do command shift F, it will rearrange the code. Okay, so we are ready for to move ahead. So in our project we're going to require controller, service, and repository. So what I'm going to do here is, let me go ahead and quickly create 3 different packages with all 3 files, and I'll come back. And so I have created these 3 different classes: employee controller, employee repository, and employee service. And now we're going to need one more class, which is a model class for employee. And for that, let me go create class, and I'm creating separate package. For that I'm giving name model, and here I'm giving name employee. So in employee we're gonna require few fields. So first field is the ID, because we have to give something unique ID, and this field will serve that purpose. Then we have first name, which is also string. Same way we have last name, and then we have address and salary. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding few more fields because I want to show you something. So for that, let's say I'm adding this private address as an address object. It is not a string. So I want to show you the embedded document. So that's why I'm doing this. And then we have this private, and which is joining date. So instead of using string as a date, this time we gonna use as a date object, which is of a utility of Java. So which is here joining date. Okay, this date we need to import it. So control space, and it is showing java.utility. And this address doesn't exist right now, so let me go create it. So create, which also will go inside this model, and finish. And address will have fields such as line 1, then we have line 2, then we have city, which is also string, then we have state, which is also string, and we have zip code, which let me take as an integer. Okay, and here we're gonna require constructors. So first constructor without field, source, and then generate, then again source, constructor with fields, select all, generate, and then source, getters and setters, select all, generate. So this class is ready, so let me close it, and here we need to import it. Okay, we don't have error. Now here also we're gonna need a constructor without field. So for that, source, generate constructor from superclass, select all, generate, then again source, we're gonna need a constructor with fields, generate all, then we have getters and setters, same way, select all and generate. So control S, control shift F to rearrange the code, and this class is ready. So one more thing here is that inside our Spring Data package, we have something called mapping, and we can use that mapping to add some few more functionalities. So let's say we have this annotation inside that, which is called document, and if you see here, it is importing this mongodb.core.mapping document, and here I have multiple values. So you can see here we have this value, and here I can pass the name of the collection inside that MongoDB. So let's say we have a collection inside Mongo, something called ABC, and I want to save this document inside that ABC doc collection. Then I can pass ABC here. Or if I let's say if I don't pass anything, then it will take a default value of the collection as this employee, the name of the class. And second annotation is this ID, which is basically we are telling Spring Boot that this field will serve as a ID. So we can use these two fields, and it is really very helpful in at the time of mapping the object. So it is good practice to use this. So let me do Control W to close it, and now we are ready to do this. So first thing controller gonna require is AutoWire service. Okay, and here we have employee service and then employee service, and this controller gonna need REST controller, which is annotation for REST controller, and then we have request mapping for giving the proper path to it. So here I am doing something like this. So okay, this control is ready. Now in service we also, this is service, so at the red service annotation, and then we need to AutoWire this repository, and employee repository gonna require AutoWire of Mongo template. And this repository also have a notation of repository. So now I already AutoWire this Mongo template, but every time we AutoWire something, right, Spring gonna need that particular instance to inject here. So we have three different ways to create the object of this Mongo template, and first one is XML file configuration, which is an old way, and for that you need to create XML file and you need to add all the properties inside it, and the Spring container at the runtime will take that value, will pass that value and create object according to your configuration. And the second approach, we need to create a .java file with all the configuration, and at the runtime it will create beans out of it. So for that you can go to your main application, and here you can write some function, and you can annotate that function with bean annotation, and runtime, when not runtime but at the time of starting the application, Spring container will create beans with this class, will run this function basically, and this function should return Mongo template object, something like this. And let's say I do name get Mongo template, and inside that you need to return um, Mongo template object, and we have this couple of constructor you can use to create a Mongo client or MongoDB factory, and you can create this Mongo template object. But we're not going to use it, so let me just comment this and move forward with. And third option is to use application.properties file. So for that you can open this application.properties file, and you can do spring.data.mongodb, and you can pass host equal to localhost, and then again spring.data.mongo, then we have this port, and you can pass to 7017, something like that, and you can use the URLs. So what is happening here is we have something called Mongo properties.java class inside Spring container, which will hold all the properties which is starting with this thing. So basically it is a configuration file, same as Java configuration, but it is little bit dynamic and automatic. It will take all the values from this class if we provide. If we don't provide, then it will take a default value as a local host as a host and port as 27017. So this Mongo properties.java file will serve as a kind of configuration file, and at the runtime our container will invoke Mongo data auto configuration.java file, and this file will create Mongo template objects using factory method of the Mongo template. So internally it will create Mongo template objects automatic without doing anything, using these credentials, using these values. So this is very convenient way, and it is very less error prone. You just need to provide all the details here and it will automatically create a Mongo template. The limitation of this approach is, let's say you are using multiple databases. You have two separate MongoDB databases and you need two separate Mongo templates for that. So in that condition, you need to create manually. And you can go with our second approach, Java configuration file approach, and you can achieve that goal. So now we are ready to go ahead and create our CRUD operations. So first let me create a post API, and for that we have post mapping annotation, and I'm giving path and then public, and this method will return employee. So every time we save something, it will return the same object whatever we store in it. So employee object, and then we have, let me give name, and this function will take request body as argument, as a input. So we are taking all the values from request body and it will go inside this employee object. I'm giving name emp, and then it will call employee service and save function of that, and I'm passing this emp value. But this save function doesn't exist right now, so what I'm doing is, let me go save create. So this function also will call employee repository and save function of that employee repository, and I'm passing emp here. So one more thing here is we have one field, something called joining date. And if you see logically that every time I add some employee, that means that employee joined, right? And let's say I want to take a system date as a date. I don't need to add, I don't have anything in the UI where I can select date or I can add date. I want that my system will take date automatically from the system date, right? So I can do something like emp dot set, and I can use this joining date, and inside that I can pass a new date object. Okay, and it will take a current date automatic. And let me, okay, so and this save function doesn't exist, so let me go and create the save function. And here, so in this Mongo repository we're gonna use Mongo template, and if I do this return then Mongo template, if I do dot, then I can see I have long list of functions that I can use directly. So for that, let me use this save and emp. So you can see here that in case of Mongo client, we used to create something called basic DB object, something like this, and then you have to add each and every value manually, something like this, append. Then I was passing this first name, and then here I need to call this get first name and add everything. So I have to do this for each and every field, and every time I save the object or I retrieve the object, I have to do this mapping all the time. This is the benefit of using Mongo template, because Mongo template or Mongo operations can use domain objects, and in our case domain object is this emp directly. We don't need all the mapping thing or anything, and this is really very easy. You can see the size of the code is very less, and as well as it is easy to use. So I can do save, and let me restart this application. So on demo, right click, run as Spring Boot application. You can see everything is good. And if I go to my Postman, so in Postman I'm selecting the method post, and then we have http localhost and 8080 employee. And so here I need to pass a request body, and inside request body I'm choosing JSON, and here we have something called, first we have first name, I'm giving Batman, first name is Bat. Then we have salary, and let's say Batman salary is 5,000, and then we have address. So if you remember, we have used address object instead of a direct string value. So if I go in my employee, you can see here we have this small address, right? And inside, which is an object, so I have to do this small address, and which is another object, so I have to do something like this. And inside address we have line 1, which is let's say line 1 is a cave, line 2, which is behind my house. Okay, city is Gotham, state is state, and we have zip code, which is integer, so I can pass 45321. Okay, and this is giving error because we missed this column. If I do send, I can see it is returning me the same object, but it has this ID. That means it is already being stored. Let me open my Mongo Compass and let me connect over there so I can see that data visually. And if I go in database, so if you see here, we have that all the data here, first name, last name, salary, and this address is another object, and this joining date is a date object. It is not a string. So let's say you want to change the time zone or you want to change the format, you can directly use Java's date object feature and achieve that goal. But imagine this thing with the basic DB object. You have to convert entire string into object and then do, which is really very error prone, and it is not good practice. So that's why it is better to use Mongo template instead of Mongo client. Okay, so moving forward, if I go in my Eclipse and let's create another APIs. So in controller, let me quickly create a get API. Okay, and this will return list of employee, and this API doesn't need any input in it. This function doesn't exist, so let me go create. Let me just copy this. This find also doesn't exist, so create find, and here we're gonna use this dot find. I can see I have so many different objects, so many different options, and you can pass some query object, you can directly use this find out. So thing is, Mongo template is connected with our database, and I need to tell that I want all the records inside particular table, right? So if I do find all, it will ask me for entity class. So this entity class is the name of the collection, right? And if you see here in employee, so this class is representing that particular collection employee inside MongoDB. So I need to pass this employee over there. So if I pass this employee.class here and colon, now Mongo template knows that we want all the records inside this particular collection. So if I do control save, stop the server, restart the server, in Postman, let me copy this, paste, get, and initially we won't have anything because we are using embedded. So if I do hit this, I'm getting empty list, but let me add this, and if I do this, I'll get one entry. Okay, same way you can create post, put, everything. So let me go here, get, instead of get, let's say we want put, then I can do something like put, but so this put API, we have to pass object, but this object will be with ID because we need something for uniqueness, right? So instead of save, let's say if I do update, this update doesn't exist right now, so I can go here and I can use this same thing. Okay, because save function in a Mongo template is absurd. Absurd means if that particular object exists, then it will update the object. If it doesn't exist, then it will insert the object. So it's a two-in-one basically. So if you go inside this template and you put cursor here, you can read here it is a absurd. Okay, so let me test it. So I'm stopping it, saving it, restart. If I go here, let me just copy this, paste, method name put, and I can take this as an answer and I can put it. So first let me add this. If I do this, I'm getting this. Let me copy this inside post, inside put, let me put this and then JSON, right? So let's say I made a mistake here. Instead of state, it is a California, so I can do CA here, and we made a mistake in first name. It's a 23A and then T. If I do say sand, then I can see it is get updated. So if I do get, I'll get new value there. So this is how you can create put. So delete also you can create same way. So let me just copy this, paste it here, and instead of this put, let me do delete, and here function name delete. So this function also will take argument as a employee object, and here also we need ID, because ID is something for uniqueness, right? We need something to identify which one we want to delete, and this delete doesn't exist. So let me create delete, paste it, and instead of save we need delete, create delete. And so inside this function also I can do return, then Mongo template dot remove. So you can see here we have so many options for remove for different purposes, but this is the option which where you need to pass your emp object and it will delete that. But this remove function doesn't respond back in employee, so it will respond something called delete result. So you can do something like that. If I do here, if I go here and do dot, I can see I have the count of deleted objects. So let's say I have multiple object with the same ID or something, then you can get the count how many object is being deleted. Okay, so I can do long here, and same here I can do long, same here I can do return type long here. Okay, and if I do save, stop the server, restart the server, and if I go to my Postman, let me copy this, paste this, method is delete, and then let me add this get, and if I copy this entire object and put it here, body raw JSON, and if I put it and if I do send, I can see one count. So this means that one object is being deleted from our database. So this how you can create CRUD operations using different functions inside a Mongo template. But real power comes when you start using criteria and query methods. So the thing is, Mongo template have so many huge functionality with using query objects. So you can create really very complex query and pass it to the Mongo template, and Mongo template will run that query easily. So let's say I want to have, so let's say I want to get each and every employee whose salary is more than 2000, right? Then this is really very difficult to do with our old approach. So in this case, let me go to my browser, let me go to my controller, and here let's say I want to get all the employees whose salary is more than particular number, right? So for that you can do here is you can create get API. So let me just copy this, paste it here, and here this get, let me remove this get, let me change the name, get by salary, and here I can pass something like this. So at this time let me use path parameters, and inside this path parameter I am taking salary equals some number, right? So let me take that integer number which is salary, and so this function doesn't exist right now, so let me just pass this and create this function. So here we need to write a query. So first thing is Mongo template will have functions for find. So we are finding basically based on some particular query. So we have this find, then we have query, and we have entity class. So I'm going to choose this approach, this function, and here I am passing employee. So this is basically we are telling Mongo template to fire this query on this entity class. Okay, now we need to create query. So if I do query, then we have this option called mongodb.core.query, and inside this let me give name query equal to new query. And so here we need to pass the criteria, and criteria class is to create the queries. It is a flow, it follows a fluent API style, and you can easily create chain of it. So what is the meaning of it is, if I do this criteria, I can see this criteria. If I do dot, it will ask me where. So what I'm doing is I'm searching, I'm creating query where salary. So particular field I'm giving name. So I'm writing query as salary, where salary is. If I do this is, then it will match exact value. If I do this GT, then it will match greater than. So you can see here it is showing this function $sign greater than. If I want less than, then I can do LT. So dot, let's say I want LT. So it will do something like this. Or you want equal, greater than, or equal to, right? So you can do GTE. So this GT is for greater than and equal to. This way you can fire a function and you can pass that salary here, value, okay? And you pass this query. Let me delete this comment first. And you can pass this query inside this function, and you are good to go. So let's say if I restart this application. Okay, so I need to do something like this. I need to change the path, and then so if I restart this application, and let me add a couple of employees here. So first, this is 5,000 salary. Let me see this 1,000 salary. Give name 1,000 here, or let me give first man. Then we have 2,000 salary, and we have random string. If I do this, then we have 3 employees right now. Okay, now we want all the employees whose salary is more than $2,000. So in here I can do salary equals 2,000, and if I hit this, okay, so all the employees which more than 2,000 or more than 2,000 I can see here. If I do 5,000 here, I can see only one value. So that's how you can create the queries. If you want to add some additional features, such as you want to include few fields, you don't want all the fields, so you can do something like query dot, you can use these fields, and then you can fire include or exclude, right? And you can include or exclude particular fields based on your need. And you can use regex also in here. So let's say you have some drop down or some search field in your UI, and you can search based on your type. So you need API to search with first name, but with regex the word starting with that particular thing. So I can use same get API for that. And instead of this salary, let me give name here, something called first name. Here also first name, which is gonna be string first name, get by first name. So here we need to write regex. So the signature is gonna be same, but instead of this criteria where salary, then we use this greater than or equal to. Here we need to use regex like this, and inside this regex you can follow pattern. So pattern will be something like colon plus and first name. So all the value which is starting for this character, whatever character you pass here, will be there, right? And instead of salary we need a first name. So let me stop this application and restart. If I go browser, and let me add a couple of values here first. I have this starting with Z, then starting with Q, then starting with my name, then starting with Batman. Okay, and now if I go here and hit, I have 4-5 employees. Okay, so this get API is same, but instead of this salary we are using first name, and the first name starting with Q. So if I hit this, I can see only one value whose first name is starting with Q. If I do my name, Jay, then I can see my name, right? So this is a case sensitive search, but with some additional changes you can pass, you can make it case insensitive, or you can really create complex queries with it. So that's how you can use Mongo template with query and criteria, and with the use of these three you can create really complex queries. So that's all for now in this tutorial, but before ending this tutorial I wanted to tell you that we're going to release design pattern and algorithm tutorials soon, and so many people request me on creating some other tutorials. I'll create that too. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe so you won't miss it, and like and share. So thank you very much, and see you in next one.